Howdy folks, I'm juvenile Jack Frost, joyously jabbing jarring jam.
I'm Amber.
And here's more jarring jam for us to jab at, because why not? I mean, what's the jam got a problem with us poking at it and jarring it? I don't know. Let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for leaving my husband at the airport after he took his ex's side over mine? Throwaway and fake names because my husband and his family are very online. I'm a 32-year-old female and I have been married to my husband Mike, a 34-year-old male, for 4 years. He has a 7-year-old daughter, Emma, with his ex-wife, Laura, a 36-year-old female. For the most part, we've had a decent co-parenting situation, but Laura can be difficult. She is very controlling and seems to love reminding me that she's Emma's real mom whenever we disagree about something. Recently, Emma had a school recital that we all attended. Afterwards, Laura mentioned that she would be traveling for work for the following weekend. And Mike offered to take Emma for the extra time, which I was fine with. But then Laura joked, "You better bring her to the airport when I get back. You always forget the little things." Mike laughed and said, "Yeah, sorry, don't worry, I got it." Well, fast forward to the day that Laura was returning, and Mike and I were supposed to pick her up from the airport with Emma. I was already annoyed because Mike had made me cancel plans that I had made that afternoon so I could come along. But I figured that we would make it quick. When Laura called to say that her flight had landed, Mike asked me to sit back with Emma so that Laura could sit up front. I thought that he was joking, but he wasn't. I was already fuming, but I got in the back seat anyways because I didn't want to make a scene in front of Emma. But then Laura got into the car and she made a snide comment like, "It's nice to see that chivalry isn't dead." That was my last straw. I told Mike to stop the car and said that I would take an Uber home because I wasn't about to play chauffeur to his ex-wife. Mike told me that I was overreacting and that it was just a seat. I said, "It's not just a seat, it's the way that you always prioritize her over me." He pulled over and I got out. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't wave. I didn't even look back. I Ubered home and then I didn't hear from him for hours until later when he came back furious. He said that I embarrassed him and that Laura was just being polite. He accused me of being insecure and making everything harder for Emma. I said that he's the one who makes everything harder by constantly putting his ex-wife's comfort ahead of mine. Now we're barely speaking, and Laura apparently told Emma some version of the story where I abandoned them at the airport because Emma asked me why I was so mad at mommy. I'm at my breaking point, but now I'm wondering if I was actually in the wrong here for making a scene. All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. It sounds like this is part of a long-standing pattern of him always putting his ex-wife first.
Yeah.
Um, when you give people a ride in your car, usually your current partner is the one who sits in the passenger seat, and anyone else you're picking up sits in the back, unless there are mobility reasons why someone else needs the front seat. And I think it's really strange that he would expect OP to go sit in the back. It does kind of show that the ex is still his priority. And I don't necessarily take her jab I took what she said as a jab. I could be misreading it, but it does seem kind of odd that she would be like, "Ah, chivalry isn't dead," and not mean it as a jab, that OP is sitting in the back. But more than that, I don't even like the relationship where he like forces OP to cancel plans
Yeah.
so she can go pick up his ex-wife. Like there was no reason she needed to be there to pick up the ex-wife. And then I'd be like, "Oh yeah, you can go hang out in the back with the kid." Like it just seems like he doesn't really respect her.
Well, I mean, I think that there's a lot of issues going on here. I think that those are two good points to point out here. That one, he's, dragging OP along unwilling to begin with, and two, that he seems to be prioritizing, this other woman and her comfort and stuff like that. And I think that OP probably has a lot more in the way of experiences that she hasn't told us because, this is just one instance of him putting them ahead of them. As for like the car seat, you would think that Laura would want to sit in the back with her daughter
Mm-hmm.
and not up in the front seat with her ex. I mean, that seems to me like it's a little bit of an odd arrangement. I think like if I were going on a long work trip, then I would want to see my daughter and
Mm-hmm.
talk to her and everything, not my ex.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I don't really view the front seat as like a position of authority or anything like that. I just kind of view it as some people like the front seat more than they like the back seat. And I don't know. I think that it was certainly, if OP does view it that way, then it's certainly like something that he should be considerate of and not tell her to move to the back.
Right. Well, and like I don't understand why he would even bring that up to begin with. Like it's clear that he sees that as some sort of priority place that his ex-wife needed it over OP.
Well, and she does too, clearly, if it's chivalrous type of
Yeah.
thing, right? I mean, who's he trying to impress here? His wife or his ex?
Well, it seems like his ex, he wants to keep things good with his ex, but he's doing it at the expense of
Yeah.
OP.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Beast Mel says, I don't get why you had to go too. Making you go to pick up his ex-wife is weird, even when trying to co-parent and keep everyone happy. I get trying to ensure that she doesn't get angry and make it harder to see the daughter, but that's a lot to ask. And OP replies, that's exactly what I think it was. Mike probably wanted me to come along because he assumes that I am insecure about Laura due to some previous conversations that we've had. I've brought it up a few times in the past how it sometimes feels like he goes out of his way to keep her happy, even at the expense of my feelings, and I think he interpreted that as jealousy or insecurity. Honestly, I went along to avoid an argument, but the whole situation just fell off. If he was trying to reassure me, it completely backfired. Making me sit in the back while his ex-wife got the front seat did nothing but confirm my concerns. Instead of showing me that I'm his priority, it felt like he was just proving that Laura's comfort comes first no matter what. It's exhausting. I mean, I think OP has their answer here.
Mm-hmm.
And Lizzie says, not the jerk, I don't know why she wouldn't want to sit in the back with her child. And I don't understand why your presence was required to go pick her up in the first place, or why her ex-husband is the one retrieving her. And OP replies, thank you for saying that. It's exactly what I was thinking. I don't mind sitting with Emma. I love spending time with her, but it was the principle of the whole thing. Why was I being asked to sit in the back to accommodate her? And honestly, I felt like a third wheel in a situation that I didn't even want to be involved in. It's not like Laura's incapable of getting an Uber or arranging her own transportation. She's a full-grown woman. Plus, it felt weird that Mike insisted that I come along, only then to prioritize her comfort over mine. I can't wrap my head around why he's bending over backwards for her when they've been divorced for years. It's like he's still trying to keep her happy, even at my expense. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Wanting to Break Up with My Boyfriend After He Brought Me to a Swinger Party and Tried to Share Me with Another Guy? I'm a 32-year-old female and I've been with my boyfriend, we'll call him Alex, a 33-year-old male, for about a year now. For the most part, things have been going really good. He's funny, he's sweet, and we've always seemed to be on the same page about what we want in a relationship. We've talked about fantasies a few times, but nothing crazy, just light-hearted, fun conversations. Or at least I thought that's all they were. Well, last weekend, Alex told me that he had a special date night planned for us. He was being all secretive about it, but I thought that it was something romantic, like dinner at a fancy restaurant or maybe a surprise weekend trip. I got dressed up, feeling all excited, and then he drove us to this big, gorgeous house. At first, I thought that it was a party with some of his friends, but as soon as we walked in, the vibe was weird. There were couples everywhere, dressed pretty provocatively, and people were being very flirty, even with strangers. It wasn't long before I realized what was going on. We were at a swinger party. I was completely caught off guard. I pulled Alex aside and asked him what this was, and he just smiled and said, I thought that this would be fun for us. He acted like he was giving me the best gift in the world, but I was just standing there in shock. Then he casually told me that he had already talked to another couple and that they were interested in us, specifically me. I told him that I wasn't comfortable with that and I didn't want to be there. Instead of apologizing or understanding, he acted like I was the problem. He kept saying that I was overreacting and that I should at least try to have an open mind. He even said that I would probably end up liking it if I gave it a chance. I couldn't believe it. I felt completely disrespected and blindsided. I told him that I'm not doing this and that I was leaving. He had the audacity to tell me that I was embarrassing him and making him look bad in front of the other guests. At that point, I didn't even care. I grabbed my bag and I left. Here's the kicker. He didn't even leave with me. He stayed at the party. When he came home the next morning, he tried to play it off like I was in the wrong. He said that I was being too rigid and accused me of not being adventurous enough. I told him that it wasn't about being adventurous, it was about trust and respect. He basically forced me into a situation that I didn't agree to, and now I feel like I can't trust him anymore. He's been apologizing nonstop for the past few days, saying that he misread our conversations about fantasies and didn't mean to upset me. Some of my friends think that I'm overreacting and should give him another chance because he just made a mistake, but others agree that what he did was a huge violation. I don't know if I can get past this. I feel like he completely disregarded my feelings, and I can't stop thinking about the fact that he stayed at the party after I left. Am I the jerk for wanting to end things over this? All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I think that ending your relationship is a great idea. This man clearly does not respect your boundaries. It's one thing to talk about things in fantasy, but if you want to try something new, it has to be agreed upon by both partners. You can't just spring it on someone and be like, oh, hey, yeah, we're doing this thing now. And the way he coerced OP was just like, OP was trying to express she was uncomfortable. Like, if he had genuinely thought she was going to be down for it and just misread things, he should have immediately been like, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, let's go.
Yeah. I mean, that's really the way I kind of view this, right? I mean, I think that if he really truly was apologetic, then he would have been apologetic at the party, not stayed at the party and not cheated on OP, because that's what he did here. I don't know what's wrong with these some of OP's friends. He literally cheated on OP, right? Maybe he didn't, but I doubt it, right?
Right, like there's one purpose for that kind of party.
And I think that this was a really in poor taste thing for him to do, because again, like, if he really was truly sorry, he would have left with OP. He wouldn't have stayed at the party. He would have, apologized, and not tried to force or coerce OP into the situation that he really seemed to have wanted and OP didn't want anything to do with, right?
Right, like OP very clearly expressed that she was not comfortable with this. And the way he tried to push and be like, oh, just try it, like, that is not what a caring partner does. A caring partner will respect your intimate boundaries and not try and push you to do things you're not comfortable with to appease them.
Yeah. So I would say that OP and their partner are probably fundamentally incompatible. And it's probably a favor to both of them to get out of the situation. Because, I mean, if he's really interested in this kind of lifestyle, then and OP isn't, then that's really not going to work at that point in time. I think that OP needs to find somebody who has the same values as they do and isn't going to coerce them into a uncomfortable situation.
Well, and it's really awful that they kind of hid that side of themselves until now, because
Yeah.
OP assumed they were on the same page until all of a sudden, surprise swinger party.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Letting My Stepson Move Back In After He Pranked Me? My wife, Karen, is a 45-year-old female and I'm a 48-year-old male, and we've been married for 5 years. She has a son, Dylan, a 22-year-old male, from a previous relationship. Dylan and I have always had a decent relationship, nothing super close, but I treated him like my own and helped support him through college. Dylan recently graduated and moved back in with us temporarily while he looks for a job. Things were fine for a little while, but he started hanging out with some friends who he said were into pranks. A couple of weeks ago, while Karen was out of town visiting her sister, Dylan decided that it would be funny to prank me by wrapping all of my work supplies, computers, files, even my chair in duct tape. I work from home, and this was the morning of a big presentation that I had spent weeks for preparing. I lost it. The tape was impossible to remove without ruining some of my files, and I had to scramble to piece together my presentation. When I confronted Dylan, he laughed and said, "It was just a joke, chill out." I told him that this wasn't funny at all, and that his lack of respect for my work was unacceptable. He brushed me off and acted like I was overreacting. When Karen got back, I told her what happened and said that I couldn't live with someone who didn't respect me or my home. I told Dylan that he needed to move out. He packed up and went to stay with a friend. but now Karen is furious with me. She says that I'm being too harsh and that Dylan is just a kid who made a dumb mistake. Dylan has since apologized, but told him that he needs to learn that actions have consequences. Karen thinks that I'm being petty and putting my pride above family, but I feel like this is about respect. Am I the jerk for not letting Dylan move back in? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, I don't think OP is the jerk. I mean, 22 isn't just a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the sort of thing, like, he sabotaged OP's work. Like, whether OP had a big presentation or not, he knew he was making OP's job very difficult for him for a
Yeah.
day. And sabotaging someone's livelihood in the name of your entertainment is not a cool thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing not to do is mess with someone's money, right? You mess with someone's money and they're going to be very, very unhappy with you. And I think that this was not a prank. And I mean, he's 22 years old. He's an adult. He knows what's funny and what's not funny, right? I mean, like, this isn't funny. How would he feel if someone did this to his school supplies when he was going through college right before a big exam,
Right.
right?
Well, that's exactly is I'm sure that he wouldn't have appreciated it, but since he's hurting someone else, that's funny,
Mm-hmm.
and he needs to learn that that's not acceptable. That you can't just do things that hurt other people and be like, oh, it's just a joke. I can get away with hurting people because it's a joke.
Yeah. So, and I think that OP has right to have is right to have reservations about this situation. What happens if Dylan, gets the prank bug again and decides to do something even more destructive next time?
Right, because as soon as OP forgives and lets him back in, if it's not if he's suffered basically no consequence, there's
Yeah.
going to be nothing to stop him from trying this again.
And I mean, I'm all for forgiving people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you really should, people do change, but people have to show that they're actually going to change and willing to change
Right.
and are truly sorry and not just sorry that you've kicked them out of the house.
Right, exactly, and I mean, certainly, hopefully he can show growth and, maybe at that point they can think about him living there again. But at this point in time, it just seems like he's saying sorry so he can move back in.
Yeah. I mean, I think the big thing is the OP should think about what it will take for him to forgive Dylan or trust Dylan again, and then lay those terms down so that there's a way for Dylan to, reintroduce themselves into their lives and whatnot, and so that things don't stay awkward forever. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And V Honest Opinion says, not the jerk. He's 22 and not 12. He's staying at your house for free and couldn't even respect your belongings. Your wife needs to cut the umbilical cord. And Oddly Appeased says, yeah, I love the, oh, he's just a kid excuse. He literally is over the legal age to be considered an adult, and he just finished college. What else has to happen before mother considers him an adult? Not the jerk. Well, that's what I want to know, right? And Mara Hute says he'll burn the crops, poison the water supply, and bring a plague into their house. I mean, that's a little extreme.
Yeah, I was wondering if that one was a reference to something, but if it is, I don't get it.
And the Vainja says that isn't the real problem, I think, especially since he's still a kid according to his actions. The real problem is that even a kid should know better, so the excuse that he's just a kid doesn't fly to begin with. And Secret Sister Sarah says, not the jerk, that's not a prank, it's literal vandalism. A prank would have been if he had saran wrapped over the door or something like that. Annoying, yes, but not destructive to your files. And the goo on the duct tape never comes off furniture either, unless you use special Goo Gone stuff that also strips away the finish. Your wife siding with her 22-year-old brat on this shows a level of my baby can do no wrong that I see as a major red flag. Alright folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
What did everyone call the teacher who carried a textbook in her pocket?
I mean, if she carried a textbook in her pocket, they probably called her a giant.
Smarty pants. Yeah, I was wondering, like, what kind of pants is she wearing? Like,
I mean, one, she has pockets, which she's got to be a witch for,
yeah.
right? And two, she's a giant. I mean, she's huge if she's carrying it. Or she's like a video game character where you can stuff
Oh, yeah.
anything into your pockets. But then she's still a witch. So I say they call her kindling.
That's rude.
And I have the special guest tea. Amber's like, wow, Brian, horrible. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy, terrific Tuesday, spelled TWO. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it a surprise.
You know what's surprising?
What's that?
That we haven't yet seen a story about someone pranking their ex at an airport swingers party.
It's surprising. We haven't seen that yet. Amber, get on that with the chat chippity to write it.
Yeah, I do not use ChatGPT.
Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.